Hello, and welcome to our video describing our work toward a proposed structure for Michigan's teaching certification system. This video will give you the background knowledge you need to be able to complete a brief survey. The survey will ask your perspectives on various aspects of the proposed certification structure. We need your feedback to make these changes in the best interest of our Michigan students. First, let me tell you about myself. My name is Ben Panetta, and I will be your host for the video. I'm a teacher at Hazlitt Middle School, and I'm glad to say that I assisted the Michigan Department of Education, or MDE, with the proposed structure we will show you. I was one of the many stakeholders with whom the MDE worked with over the past year and a half to develop the proposed certification structure. First, I thought I should provide some background as to how this work began and why it's important that it happens now. Under the No Child Left Behind Act, or NCLB, the State Board of Education adopted the NCLB definition of highly qualified. However, with the replacement of NCLB with the Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA, the federal requirement for highly qualified was removed. Highly qualified requirements assisted schools in properly placing and assigning teachers, and is still an important consideration for the good of Michigan students and teachers on the path to becoming a top 10 education state in 10 years. For this reason, the MDE is now promoting the concept of appropriate placement instead of highly qualified. The first step in helping Michigan schools address appropriate placement is to examine and revise the current certification structure for teachers. So we thought you might want to have an update on the information that we collected over the past year and a half. Large group stakeholder meetings were conducted since 2015, and over 4,000 individuals responded to a 2016 survey on challenges the current certification system poses for making appropriate placements. The current elementary certificate structure and standards specify that teachers be prepared to teach all subjects, including art, health, PE, and music, equally well across all grades K-8. Although schools want flexibility in placing teachers, many stakeholders have noted that this expectation for the preparation of K-8 teachers is unrealistic. Educators want an easier way to expand their certification to additional grade ranges or subject areas, and they strongly believe that educators should only be placed in subject areas in which they have been prepared. Lastly, educators want a connected system where P12 and teacher education have authentic partnerships with more support for teacher candidates. The stakeholders we worked with agreed on 6 basic non-negotiables that any certification system must include. As you respond to our survey later, please keep these 6 ideas in mind and check to see we've included them. First, students are the focus. Any certification system we have must ultimately and chiefly support student learning and achievement. Next, while we understand that special situations and unique challenges will arise, we must design a certification system that works for the needs of the greatest number of situations possible. While Michigan has different school settings, different geographical locations, and diverse needs, we need to create a certification system that works for the realities of the majority of Michigan's schools. We do have a system of permits for substitute teachers and out-of-field educators, which acts as one way to handle allowable exceptions to certification. Keeping this in mind, the system we are asking you about is the main certification system, not the subsystem we use to meet unique needs. Next, since requirements for special education teachers use a separate set of rules, we are not addressing the way teachers of special education are certified. Their system must not be challenged by a new proposed structure. A fourth item is that the unique needs of Michigan's middle school students must be better addressed in any new system we envision. Specifically, our current certification structure lacks specialized social-emotional training and depth of content for teaching middle school students, and we need to address that. Related to the unique experiences and demands of middle school is the opportunity we needed to preserve for middle school students to earn high school credit. If we see middle school education as a critical springboard toward success in high school, we need to make sure teachers at middle schools are prepared with the depth of knowledge necessary to support the delivery of high school content. As mentioned earlier, stakeholders felt that the expectations for elementary teachers to be adequately prepared for such a wide range of subjects was unreasonable. Michigan currently authorizes its K-5 teachers to teach all subjects to their students in any classroom setting. and students in a self-contained classroom can be taught any and all subjects from one teacher in grades K through 8. How do we adequately prepare for all subjects? Instead, stakeholders agreed that we should target the preparation of elementary teachers to a limited and reasonable number of foundational subject areas, while recognizing that we still need to prepare them to provide a well-rounded education to all students. We know that there is a lot of aspects to think about so far, but in presenting the non-negotiables to you, we hope these beliefs can be shared and that your own review of the proposed system will confirm that we are all on the same page. Let's review those 6 non-negotiables a moment. Number 1, students must come first. 2, design for most possibilities. 3, preserve special education rules. 4, redesign middle school teacher preparation. 5, consider high school content depth for middle learners. And 6, elementary teacher preparation in all subjects is too broad. We observed 5 additional themes when reviewing our survey data and the feedback we got from our various rounds of stakeholder meetings. These next 5 areas are called tensions because they represent further unresolved questions, seemingly contradictory circumstances, or situations that we need to contemplate well in advance of any new certification structure. We ask that you also try to keep these concepts in mind when you respond to the survey. Since these are a bit more complex than the non-negotiables, I'll take you through each one in greater detail. We're calling the first one middle school job market demand. Think about this one in the context of the 2 non-negotiables that focused on middle school, properly preparing teachers for the unique challenges of a middle school student and providing them with the depth of knowledge needed to deliver some high school content. Research and practice tell us that teacher candidates don't generally select middle grades as an initial area for preparation. Rather, teachers tend to evolve into being a middle grades teacher through experiences with middle grade students or in middle grade placements. The tensions here is that we create a middle level grade span without having other overlapping grade ranges in our certificate structure. We run the risk of creating a shortage of middle grades teachers, as other states have seen. The second tension is called endorsement breadth versus depth. Think about a certification system that must offer both broad endorsement areas, such as social studies or integrated science, but also narrow or specialized endorsements, such as geography or chemistry. The tension here is that the broad endorsement area allows a teacher to be prepared to understand a wide range of subdisciplines and how to integrate them, whereas the narrow or specialized endorsement allows for teachers to be prepared with a deep understanding of a specific subject area. As we build one system that contemplates the most possibilities, how might we prepare educators equitably for other endorsement areas and assist educators in finding appropriate assignments within those possibilities? A third tension is known as integration within and across content areas. There is a need for teachers to have in-depth knowledge of individual content areas, such as biology, but there is also a need to understand how biology integrates with other areas of science and math. For another example, think about reading. There is a need for teachers to have an in-depth understanding of reading, but also an understanding of how reading is included or embedded in content areas. This truly becomes a tension, and it is heightened because only so many credits can fit within a preparation program. Speaking of what can fit into a preparation program, the fourth tension that came out from our review of research and feedback was program requirements. Preparation programs have credit limits and constraints. The typical teacher preparation program includes general education requirements, educator preparation requirements, and field experience requirements. If only so much coursework can fit into a preparation program, how do we design a new certification structure that aligns our expectations for grade levels and endorsement areas with sufficient combination of coursework and meaningful clinical or field experiences? Finally, while students must indeed come first, we still need to contemplate how administrators need to have some flexibility to place teachers appropriately under any new certification structure we design. We cannot make this only about resolving a teacher shortage problem. There are realities of finding and attracting well-prepared teachers, but there are also the realities of resources available for staffing, how to navigate employing substitute teachers when necessary, and ensuring that the teachers who are employed are the best fit for their assignments, as well as to meet student achievement goals. Let's take a moment to review the 5 tensions we just introduced. Again, contemplate these 5 tensions as you respond to the survey. Number 1, middle school job market demand. 2, endorsement breadth versus depth. 3, integration within and across content areas. 4, preparation program requirements. And 5, ease and flexibility of placement. As a reminder, our current structure, the one that's been in place for many years, looks like this. The elementary certificate authorizes the teacher to teach any subject in grades K-5, including music, art, and other subjects. This can be in a self-contained classroom or in a departmentalized setting. This teacher could also teach a self-contained classroom in grades 6 through 8. If they hold a subject area endorsement, they can teach that subject in grades 6 through 8. The secondary certificate authorizes the teacher to teach in a departmentalized setting in the subject area in which they were prepared, usually in grades 6 through 12. Finally, certain content areas and preparation programs such as music or health will allow the teacher to teach in grades K-12. Now that we have built some background, it's time to take a look at the proposed model that has come out of the most recent stakeholder work group meetings. Here's an overview graphic. I'll dive more into detail as we look at the different grade bands that are being proposed and how these grade bands might relate to available endorsement areas. First, there would be one educator certificate with all earned endorsement areas and their associated grade bands listed on the certificate. Second, we intend that educators might more easily add endorsement, content areas, or student populations and associated grade bands to their certificate. In the proposed model, there are 5 possible grade bands. Pre-kindergarten to grade 3, grades 3 through 6, grades 5 through 9, grades 7 through 12, and pre-kindergarten through 12. The preparation for each of these grade bands includes content area coursework, foundational coursework, and field experiences appropriate to the grade range. Although the coursework, foundational coursework, and field experiences will vary with each grade band and subject area, each will include learner-centered supports, including strategies to teach deeper learning to all students and differentiated supports for intervention and tiered instruction. Educator preparation program standards will guide the construction of coursework and field experiences. Third, note that feedback was also gathered in support of designing a system where at least one grade level overlapped with the grade band before and the grade band after. This, we understood, would further assist in placing teachers for a variety of different school settings, especially those that overlap the middle school years. Fourth, although we haven't said it explicitly yet, you are probably already noticing that our stakeholders strongly recommended integrating pre-kindergarten into the beginning grade band. This, they felt, would contribute to a connected P20 system and reinforce development of the critical social and academic skills that young learners needed to be successful. Now let's look at what we propose for each individual grade band. First, pre-kindergarten, or PK, to grade 3. The educator preparing for grades PK to 3 will receive integrated coursework that is heavily focused on literacy and mathematics instruction, and also includes coursework in teaching science and social studies. Note that on our graphic, the diamonds symbolizing the different content areas overlap each other, but English, language arts, and mathematics are larger in size. The standards for the PK to 3 program will include integration and instruction to meet the needs of the whole child, leading to a well-rounded education. Foundational and content area coursework will be driven by program standards that include developmentally appropriate instructional practices for students in grades PK to 3 with an emphasis on learner-centered supports. This educator would be prepared to teach PK to 3 in a general classroom setting or literacy, mathematics, science, and or social studies in a departmentalized setting. Educators can add an area of specialization, for example, special education, English as a second language, mathematics, or music. Now let's look at grades 3 through 6. The educator preparing for grades 3 to 6 will receive integrated coursework that is focused equally on literacy, mathematics, science, and social studies. Thus, while they still overlap, The diamonds symbolizing each content areas are roughly the same size. Foundational and content area coursework will be driven by standards that include developmentally appropriate instructional practices for students in grades 3 through 6, with an emphasis on learner-centered supports. Just like the PK to grade 3 band, educators can add an area of specialization. For example, special education, English as a second language, mathematics, or visual arts. This educator would thus be prepared to teach grades 3 through 6 in a general classroom setting, or literacy, mathematics, science, and/or social studies in a departmentalized setting. Next, let's look at grades 5 through 9. The educator preparing for grades 5 to 9 will receive coursework that focuses on at least one of the following content areas: English or language arts, mathematics, science, or social studies. In addition, the stakeholder committee recommended candidates choose either a second content area from this list or an area of specialization. For example, English as a second language, visual arts, or educational technology. To represent this, we turned the diamonds onto their sides as squares representing the different 4 base content areas of preparation, and included a note that said, choose one plus. The plus is their second selection for preparation. As in other grade bands, foundational and content area coursework will be driven by standards that include developmentally appropriate instructional practices and meeting the unique social-emotional needs for students in grades 5 to 9, with an emphasis on learner-centered supports. This educator would be prepared to teach students of these grades in their chosen content areas of study in a departmentalized setting. Next, grades 7 through 12. Similar to the grades 5 through 9 band, the educators preparing for grades 7 to 12 will receive coursework that focuses on one of the following content areas: English or language arts, mathematics, science, or social studies. In addition, the stakeholder committee recommended candidates choose a second area of specialization. For example, English as a second language, visual art, biology, or economics. In some cases, this may be an area of specialization related to their first content area choice. For example, science and then biology. As before, foundational and content area coursework will be driven by standards that include developmentally appropriate instructional practices for students in grades 7 to 12, with an emphasis on learner-centered supports, which includes deeper learning and differentiated instruction. This educator would be prepared to teach students of these grades in the content area of study in a departmentalized setting. You may notice that this grade band has a larger overlap with the grade band before it because we heard strongly from stakeholders that this strategy would address the non-negotiables and the tensions related to the needs of middle schoolers and their instructional settings. Finally, what's happening in the PK through 12 certificate areas? The educator preparing for grades PK to 12 will receive coursework that focuses on a content area or student population. The educator must choose either visual arts, music, world language, bilingual education, English as a second language, special education, or health phys ed. Candidates selecting special education or English as a second language or bilingual education must also choose a content area of specialization. For example, English language arts, science, biology, or economics. Foundational and content area coursework will be driven by standards that include appropriate instructional practices for students in grades PK to 12, with an emphasis on learner-centered supports, including deeper learning and differentiated instruction. This educator would thus be prepared to teach grades PK to 12 in their chosen content area or to their specialized student population in a departmentalized setting. Okay, we've now equipped you with a background behind proposing a new structure, the feedback we gathered including non-negotiables and tensions, the current structure, and the proposed structure itself. It's now time for you to take the survey. Like the last part of this video, the survey is broken down to grade spans to make it easier to take at one sitting. We recognize you might have stronger opinions about some grade spans than others. That's okay. We want to hear everything you might have to say on this structure. The original message we sent you contained a survey link. There is no time limit on the survey, and it will save your responses if you have to interrupt it. Just make sure you're clicking on the same link from the same computer if you have to leave it and return later. The survey must be completed by June 5th, 2017. Thanks again for your time and attention to provide us your valuable perspectives and comments. This is a major undertaking with wide-ranging impact, and we can't do this without you.